Good Saturday morning. I'm meteorologist Nicole Hartford. Thank you for joining us for this live weather update on 11 Alive Plus. We're tracking the possibility of wintry weather across North Georgia, including accumulating freezing rainfall today and through tomorrow. So we have a weather impact alert that goes into effect today and continues until Monday with that possibility of freezing rain. You need to start planning now if you have not already for potential travel impacts as well as power outages. Exactly how kind of bad these will be are very dependent on location because some spots are going to see a lot more accumulating ice than others. This is a major winter storm across the continental U.S. We've got winter weather advisories, winter storm watches and warnings, as well as ice storm warnings that stretch from Colorado and New Mexico all the way across the country down towards us in Metro Atlanta and then up towards the northeast as well. So this is a highly impactful winter storm, and it's already starting to drop some snow and freezing rain across portions of Texas, as well as New Mexico into Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Now, there is a little bit showing up so far on the radar here in North Georgia. I want to caution you, I don't really think any of this that is showing up on the radar is actually reaching the ground at this point. The reason is because the air is just so dry. So as this continues to fall, the air below those clouds will saturate a little more and things will eventually start reaching the ground. But for right now, this is likely not reaching the ground. It's evaporating before it does so. Also, a very important part of our forecast, temperatures. Right now, the vast majority of people are still above freezing and by a pretty large margin. We're mostly in the upper 30s and low 40s. Now, there are some exceptions into far north Georgia. Of course, at elevation, temperatures are a little bit colder. Right now in Dalton, we're at 32, and these northern counties will be the first to start seeing that transition from rainfall to some freezing rain as we go throughout the day today. For the rest of us, it will take a little bit of time for temperatures to start getting colder, but as we go throughout the day, we will start to drop to the freezing point. Today is going to be one of those days where temperatures actually fall instead of getting warmer. So where we are now is about as warm as it's going to be throughout the day. Because of that, our transition from rain to some wintry mix of freezing rain and sleet will likely start to take place as we get into later this afternoon and this evening. That means much of the day today, especially through the morning, things should stay pretty quiet. Now we'll watch as wintry mix develops throughout the day. Untreated roads, bridges, overpasses, those are going to be the first to stay slick. If you still have preparations to get done, now is the time to do it. But if you don't have to be on the roads, don't, as GDOT gets out and continues to brine the roads and treat them to make sure we're set up to make the roads as good as they can be as this ice starts to accumulate. Later this afternoon and evening, that's when accumulation is going to intensify. So not only will showers become more widespread, but we'll see that more widespread transition from rain to freezing rain. That will lead to roads turning slick and icy as temperatures drop down into the 20s. And then by tomorrow, we'll watch as that winter weather continues. I think the worst of this will likely be tonight and into tomorrow morning. That's when a lot of our ice accumulation will take place. And as that ice accumulates, it will also bring about more of a risk for down trees and down power lines, which does lead to power outages. Now, we're going to be watching our temperatures really closely tomorrow because in many areas, especially through the metro and down towards the south, we may get enough of a warm up to bring us back above freezing and transition that freezing rain back to a cold rain tomorrow. But that may not be the case for everyone, and there will still be spots that stay either at or below freezing beginning tonight and through tomorrow as well. So this is going to be a highly impactful storm in many locations, especially when it comes to icy roadways and that threat for power outages. Because of that, the National Weather Service has put out an ice storm warning. This does include Metro Atlanta and a big chunk of North Georgia. In those locations highlighted by the ice storm warning, that's where the impacts are expected to be the highest. So we could see in some locations significant ice accumulation that makes travel hazardous, if not impossible, because of icy roadways, and also leads to falling tree limbs, falling power lines, and power outages. Down towards the south, we've got a winter weather advisory in place. In these spots, we're still expecting to see some accumulating ice, but it may not be quite up to the level or the accumulation of what we're expecting in the ice storm warning. Now, this is just one forecast model, but it gives you an idea of how much ice we're thinking. As far as ice accumulation goes, I think the highest totals are going to end up being northeast of Metro Atlanta. This is where the impacts are going to be major. We're talking ice accumulation of up to perhaps a ½ inch to even an inch, which would lead to extremely slick roads that are hazardous, if not impossible, to travel on. It would also lead to more widespread power outages. The further southwest you go, down towards the metro and southwest of the city, while impacts are still expected, they will not be quite as big. We'll still see power outages, we'll still see accumulating ice, but it will not be quite to the extent of what I'm anticipating up into far northeast Georgia. Ice does not take much either to start seeing impacts. At a 1/10 of an inch of accumulation, we've got a light glaze on roads and sidewalks, slick bridges, coated windshields, and even isolated power outages. By a 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation, we're talking icy roads, tree limbs that are breaking, and more numerous power outages. At a 1/2 of an inch, that's when it becomes near catastrophic, with dangerous, if not impossible, travel on roads, widespread tree damage, and long-term power outages possible. So here's how it plays out hour by hour. I mentioned our temperatures are going to have big impacts on how things play out through the weekend, so we're going to be watching them very closely. The good news is that at least through the bulk of today, a lot of spots are going to stay above freezing. The exception here, again, is going to be those far northern counties. So by 7:30, we may start to see some of those spots in northwest Georgia that are currently showing a little bit of precipitation on the radar. The atmosphere might become saturated enough that it actually leads to some stuff reaching the ground. At that point, temperatures for the most part, again, still above freezing, but in the northwest corner of the state, you may start to see some slick bridges and overpasses or some icy spots. The other thing about our temperatures is because we're still above freezing, and we have been above freezing for the vast majority of the last few days, it's going to take some time for roads, especially for ground temperatures, to get down and stay down below freezing. So even once this freezing rain begins, it may take some time before we actually start seeing ice accumulating on roads. So it gives us a little bit of a transition period. A lot of the day today should stay quiet. I'm not going to rule out some slick spots, especially up into far north Georgia, but not a lot going on until later this afternoon. Things start out kind of as just a cold rainfall. Then as temperatures drop, especially tonight, that's when we see that transition from just cold rain to more widespread freezing rain. This particular forecast model has widespread freezing rain by about midnight tonight. Temperatures are down into the 20s and the 30s. This is by 1 a.m. and we'll see prolonged, so hours of accumulating ice as we go from midnight tonight until early tomorrow morning. That means roads will become hazardous very quickly. You do not want to be driving tonight or early tomorrow morning as we watch that ice accumulate. Now, here's where that little warm up comes into play. As we go throughout the day on Sunday, some spots through the metro and out towards the west may actually manage to warm just far enough above freezing to transition that freezing rain back to a rainfall. Now, depending on how much ice accumulation we end up seeing, this may not be able to get rid of all of the ice, but it will help a little bit in terms of making things at least slightly less frozen into Sunday afternoon. Notice, though, up towards the northeast of the city, where I anticipate the highest ice accumulation totals, temperatures still stay just barely below freezing even through the day on Sunday, which will lead to not only additional ice accumulation, but while other areas may see a little bit of improvement, that may not end up being the case for these northeastern counties. So this line of showers and storms comes through. Notice some heavy rainfall within this. There's actually a severe weather threat associated with it down into portions of South Georgia and South Alabama into the afternoon hours on Sunday. As we watch this move through, things will start to dry out into Sunday night and early early Monday morning. So precipitation comes to an end, skies clear out a little bit, and temperatures plummet into Monday morning. This is when the truly cold air settles. So although things are kind of done when it comes to actively falling freezing rain, anything that's still on the ground will have the opportunity to refreeze. So roads will still be hazardous in some locations on Monday morning. There will still be icy spots. So I would recommend just kind of hunker down tonight through Sunday and even consider into Monday morning, because anything that does fall will refreeze, leading to those icy patches on roadways. This is when the truly colder air takes over. So some spots northeast of the city where ice accumulation is expected to be highest are not going to climb above freezing throughout the day on Monday. That means there will not really be an opportunity for any of that to thaw or melt. As we go into Tuesday, temperatures will start to climb above freezing. We'll also have some sun that returns on Monday into Tuesday, and that'll help us out when it comes to getting rid of the ice. But some spots northeast of the metro where we're anticipating up to a ½ inch to even more than that of ice accumulation, that's where we could see extended power outages because crews will not be able to get to locations until we climb above freezing on Tuesday afternoon. Morning temperatures Tuesday are also going to be cold in the teens and the single digits for actual air temperatures, and even colder than that when you factor in a light breeze. Again, we've got that weather impact alert as we watch the accumulating ice possibility across North Georgia. We'll continue to bring you these updates here on 11 Alive Plus every half hour. I will also be live with meteorologist Chesley McNeil on 11 Alive beginning at 8:30 this morning.